if you're in any form of entertainment, whether it's comic books or movies or television or whatever, you've got to be grateful to the fans.
DC and Marvel have went out of their way to destroy their own fan base and run them off.
And if you don't like my politics, don't buy my book.
This is no way to tell stories. This is not how to do comic books. This is not fun.
Well, I got to tell you, without fans, the whole entertainment business would fade away.
Hey, I'm Pops, and welcome to Comic Book Wednesday. I'm your comic talk. I'm it. I'm the guest. I'm the host. I'm it. This is all you get. We will be doing this in some segments, so expect some little cutaways and stuff. Give me a little commercial break, so to speak, as we go through some different topics and hopefully have a good time. By the way, if you're in chat or your comments after the fact, love your suggestions. I'm trying to catch up on so many of these great ideas and things that we can do and have a conversation about, guests to have on. And yes, we'll have some more guests coming up. I know Wakazashi is already confirmed, so he'll be coming up here soon. I'll probably try to have some other folks back on. I got a great panel coming up, talk about something really cool. So it's coming. It's always moving. Thank you so much for being here, watching, liking, sharing, being a member. All of you guys are just incredibly generous, and I can't thank you enough. So with that, first part is birthed out of a conversation that I had with somebody who was really unaware of Todd McFarlane's like breadth and scope on Amazing Spider-Man prior to the Spider-Man series, the 1990 Spider-Man series he's familiar with, but he wasn't familiar with the run on Amazing, which is really what made him famous, because it's really this run, these issues, where things turned, I want to say super celebrity, but that's kind of what happened. So let me go back one issue, because 298 is the first issue. So this is the first time Todd McFarlane is on Amazing Spider-Man. You can see here, this is black suit Spider-Man. It's the alien costume. That's what's going on here. I'm not going to spin my wheels too much with the art because I want to get to the most crucial comic book. Here's one that, I had this book forever in a day. And then you get to the one. This is the gem. So this is Amazing Spider-Man 300. Well, it's definitely among the 2 or 3 most valuable of the uber modern comic books. It's one of the most sought after. It changes hands constantly. It's the first full appearance of Venom. Venom is in a panel in the end of the previous issue, but this is like the first appearance of Venom. This is the one everyone sought after because this cover is just rock and roll. It's a beautiful cover. It is also very expensive because, as you can see here on the left of the spine, you can see that's a lot of black. Now, we've talked about a lot of white and a lot of black on a comic book lends itself to a lot of imperfections, shall we say. So therefore, higher grade comics or issues are going to be much more expensive. And by the way, this whole McFarlane run, I believe, has been reprinted in an omnibus. I think it was like $100 when it dropped. I don't know what it's going for currently. Very expensive, but you can get this digitally. You can get smaller runs and things like that. And you can probably get reader copies, except for this issue. This is going to be an expensive book pretty much around the board. Now, to give you an idea of how great this art is, Venom first off, I have to say, they did such a great job of setting the story up because you actually felt like, is Venom going to hurt Mary Jane for this? Like this, when you have that cliffhanging ending. And this is how we find her. We find her in just complete hysterics, melting down. But look at the intricate details on her clothing and in her hair. It's just incredible. So when Peter comes home, she's freaking out even more so because she's been sort of attacked and scared by Venom himself. So that's kind of what happens here. And then, of course, I don't want to spoil too much with the story, but I want to get into a little bit. By the way, this is how they're drawn when they're together. This is not this. I just want you to understand, if you grew up with this as your Spider-Man and you fast forward to Tom Holland and Zendaya, okay, can you at least admit and say, oh, I can see why fans don't see it the same way, right? Look at how they have Peter and look at how they've drawn Mary Jane. Okay. Yeah. And there he is in action. And again, this web, this design, the way his body is drawn to be so much more fluid and nimble, like an insect could be, like an uber acrobat, like just uber flexibility and things like that. So that's pretty much how it shakes out. And then, of course, Mary Jane is like eager to get him out of that suit. And that's so they begin their run with 301, where things change radically. And now he has the red and blue back. And again, it's a beautiful cover, but it is white. Notice the white on the edge there. Not easy to find in super high grades. So again, some of these are very, very expensive for that reason. Now, the story, if you're in it for the story, no, the story is not as action packed and dramatic and intense as you may expect it to be. It takes a minute for some of that to kind of kick in because they're really kind of establishing what their Spider-Man is going to kind of look and feel like, what the relationship with Mary Jane's going to be, how Peter's going to try to manage everything. So you've got a couple issues. Here's where Silver Sable comes back. So you have a little bit of that as we have some story that kind of gets flushed out for a couple issues. This beautiful cover, Silver Sable's right there. But look at Sandman. Look at the detail in the sand coming alive right there. And I don't think it's noted here, but when McFarlane does his art on these covers, there are a lot of times where he'll draw the issue number in the bottom in the box with the issue number in spider leg and webs, and if he has his name, he'll have a circle around his name with how many spiders there are. Now here on Sandman, you can see if you were to look at this issue, right, there's a spider right here drawn into the sand. So the details of the sand forms an outline of a spider. That's how intricate this stuff is. And it's incredible detail. Again, Mary Jane. But look at the detail of motion and activity with Sandman and stuff here. Okay. So this run continues to deliver issue after issue, just beautiful. This is kind of a generic cover for McFarlane, just so you guys know. Okay. Get to 305. Okay. Movement and action, but okay. But then it starts to pick up. We have our homage cover to Action Comics, Superman cover with the whole police car thing here. We get a little bit of that. McFarlane being a McFarlane. Before you get into Chameleon, right? Who kidnapped Mary Jane. Then you get into this. It's going to get interesting. Sticks and Stones are introduced, right? It's a little bit of a slow burn. We got 10 issues before it. Now we're going to get there. So we have Mysterio first. Mysterio is in here. Spidey fighting just being a regular neighborhood Spider-Man, right? Before you get into that. And then you end up with Goblin and Hobgoblin. Beautiful books. Lizard. Look at he drew hatching and stuff on all of the woodwork in that background. All of Peter's hair has coloring. There's a Santa Christmas episode issue. Before we get into some more crazy with Venom's going to come back, Hydra Man, and then we bring Venom back. So there's a Hydra Man first. We have some water and stuff. We have Venom coming back, but then we get to the cover. So this is, again, one of the most sought after books because of the first full cover appearance of Venom. So this run that I'm talking to you about, it's not only just these beautiful covers. So people that are into just covers want these books. People that are into just Venom want these books. People that are Spider-Man, they obviously want these books. People that are fan of Spider-Man versus a certain villain have certain books. So you can see how this is sort of like a seminal run over the course of a couple years. Where he just took off from like 88 to 90. And this is incredible. The detail that's in this. I mean, look at this. This guy has a tear in his shirt that's intricately drawn, and he has an outline here for a little bit of that little pot belly going on. That's how detailed this is with Venom attacking. Okay. A little closeout with Venom. And then you have Scorpion. And then you have Rhino and more Scorpion. You have Backlash is there. So and there's tons of villains and things that are coming and going. But let me go back to that real quick. I want to show you that shot of this panel here. Look at how even the efforts and the energy that's put towards making interesting, fun credits and details. Okay. So this is called Assassination Plot. And this is kind of what was being released around the time that I was buying comics in real time, because I started kind of in 89 with the Batman movie, as I've talked about many, many times. So this is actually already started before that, right? So I was kind of playing some catch up. But this is kind of like Assassination Plot becomes more like I got this off the shelf. So I couldn't wait for this because, again, look at the art. I'm like, interesting experiment, Mr. Parker, question mark. And I'm like, what is he doing? Like, first off, I'm a science nerd. So I was like, what on earth? And I'm just down the rabbit hole, engaged with like, this is what Spider-Man's like now? Like him intricately making his web shooters, him jumping and leaping through the air, super hot Mary Jane, intricate details with Harry Osborn. Yeah. So this is Assassination Plot, which crosses over into all sorts of different things. Again, Sable's back. We're going to get to a cover you guys are going to like in a minute. And just look at the webs, just the webbing, the detail that's there. It's just such great work. It's just so much fun. Okay. Captain America, another big cover, holy cow cover, basically. This Assassination Plot, part 4. This was huge. This was huge. This was a book I couldn't. I wish I'd bought 12 copies of this book. I love this look of Captain America. I think it's one of the most fun of this sort of time frame, being able to have, Cap in action by Todd McFarlane. The only regret is I don't have more of it. This is him parachuting. And they do make him, a little bit of a little Spider-Man foot going on there. Not really quite the boot that you expect from Captain America, but you get a little bit of that. Then we kind of move into Sabretooth. A little bit of Sabretooth. How's that for you guys that are X-Men fans? Look at that. And you're going to get it. Look at that. Oh, it's coming. Red Skull. The final part of Assassination Plot, Red Skull with the torn flag right here. There's some Captain America in it. Everybody's mad. Oh, it's so good. And then you get like a kind of a filler issue in a way. Like, it's kind of like this is called Act of Vengeance. It's like a crossover story. See this thing here in the red on the right? They were doing crossover events. So you get a little bit of that here for a minute. I don't care for this because so let me go back one step here. So we're also transitioning now where Todd's wanting some time off. Todd wants to do his own thing. He's talking about leaving. There's already some of the conflict because there were 25 issues from 300, so now we're 27. We're 2 years into this. This book is like this massive selling book. So you end up going, all right, well, he's not going to work this issue, and he's not going to do this issue. And you can already tell this isn't McFarlane. Look at that. This is Eric Larson. Magneto's not quite done right. Now, I admit, still a fun article. I got to be honest. Compared to newer stuff, look at how different Mary Jane is, how different Peter is. Larson isn't as good at continuing what McFarlane had set up. Some of the designs and stuff I just didn't care as much for. But again, compared to now. And then you get this issue. And I think that what happened with this issue was Marvel had given the 2 issues off, which is 1 month because this book was coming out twice a month. And it was like McFarlane comes back. He uses his gray Hulk because he did write on Hulk as well. He did draw over on Hulk as well. And you're like, I want this guy to do everything. You were just like hooked, like, oh my gosh, like every detail, you just want more. So that's kind of where you ended up. And then you start to see, okay, now we're going to start getting into like, what are they going to do? Eric Larson's going to be the guy who's going to kind of take over. And he kind of cheats because he goes right to a Punisher story, which leads right into a Venom story, which are beautiful covers, by the way. But it's not McFarlane. It's just different. Okay. So that's a little bit of the backstory of the Amazing Spider-Man McFarlane run. Some of all the covers. I can tell you this: if you just want to have fun, if you love that art, if you're really into the art first, this is going to be for you. If you're into that action, and if I think you want to understand also a lot of where folks are on our takes on Peter and Mary Jane and Venom and some of these, why our standards are the way they are. It's because if you look at these books, you'll see very clearly. And then you can see when it's not, it's like the bar gets raised. And so when the other people come in and they're not as good, the reaction is sort of amplified. And I think that's what we saw. So, all right, let me take a quick break. I'm going to come back and get you something else. And thanks so much for watching, hanging out with me doing Comic Book Wednesday. Enjoy a little Todd McFarlane love right here. Talk to you in a second.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
America's #1 comic book thanks to you. So I started this company to make the toys that you asked for.
Spawn, Violator.
I hear the competition's flying around. They could be any place.
They're cool, awesome.
Tremor, Overkill, Medieval Spawn, the Clown.
And they come with comics.
Nice toys, kids.
Nice try, guys.
Spawn from Todd Toys. We're out to plaster the competition.
All right, we're back. Comic Talk. I want to stick with Marvel for a minute. I hadn't really done anything on Moon Knight or What If. I know they had their Disney shows. I don't even know if we're going to get a season 2 or not. And then I ran across this. I ran across this Dark Moon Knight What If book. And I'm like, this is the perfect storm of the one that they will do. You're not going to believe. Well, you will. You'll believe because it's who they are. This is pretty much what you expect it to be. So it's set up actually pretty nicely and it's explained well. They give Khonshu a chance to narrate a little bit about how there's infinite outcomes, and then there's not all outcomes are positive, which is interesting because of how this goes. So you have Mark Spector doing a battle here early on. You have this fight. He's not doing well, and he's looking for Marlene. And then, where's Marlene? And she's right there. She's got this gun. And she's backing him up, but then he looks away too long, and then he is stabbed and killed. Okay, so that's pretty much how this goes. And it's like, well, I didn't think he could die, right? That's kind of how it's all set up. And then you have a funeral scene with all these different characters here, and the Avengers and such. And then she says her goodbyes, and then she's there in the museum talking about Khonshu and things like that, mad. And then she breaks something, and then when she does, she hears the voice. You're hurting my child. Who said that? That glow. It seems like a sun or a summer day. See, the box is glowing. So what she's being faced with is actually Ra. And Ra turns her into the Luminary, the Dark Moon Knight. That's correct. So she's girl boss. And here's Khonshu explaining, what she's doing and how she's trying to do for good and all of that. But when she has her opportunity, she gets very violent. And look at her. She's girl bossing. Look at this guy's face. Oh, choking him out. Yeah. All right. And then it's so girl bossy, right? So it's like, take your hands off. You think you think that you are not afraid, but we have many creative ways of instilling fear, because he has Moon Knight's trophy basically for killing Moon Knight. So she beats him down and chokes him. How's that for being creative? This has to end. Please help me, Ra. Says, so it shall be, my luminary. And then she bursts into this super hero fight scene, thrashing men, and then goes in here to deal with the guy that killed Mark. Okay. So that's what's happening here. And she's got all these like super cool powers and things that she can do, and starts to have this big fight scene and taking him out, blinding him, no mercy, just being terrible and evil. She got stabbed, by the way. I will send you to your father. I will send you to Spectre. Joke, joke, joke. Use the light within you, child. That's right. She has so much power inside of her. If she could just tap into her inner light. Yes, that's what they do. Oh my God, it's so bad. Her inner light saves the day and blasts him. And then she has the thing from Mark that was on the desk, and she stabs him in that, take care of him. And then she's in the hospital, and she sort of hallucinates about being, where she is and seeing Mark and whatever. But it's like, it's not her time. It's not her time. You see, she's got so much to do. She's now become a hero, right? So, but she's not really Marlene anymore, is she? No, she is Ra. And then we get our narration. No matter the timeline, the sun and the moon will always rise. And with their light comes shadows. How one attends to those shadows determines their own fate. So be mindful of the shadows and the light. In other words, she's not going to be a real positive heroine that you might think she would be. So I thought it was interesting in the sense of total girl boss story. Totally fits Disney Plus. How could they not adapt that? It's like put the softball on the tee. What if Dark Moon Knight coming? I almost feel like I'm calling my shots. I feel like it was written to get adapted. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say here. So, anyway, that's my take on it. Talk to you guys in a minute. Let me recoup and recoup. How about regroup? Talk to you in a minute.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Mattel introduces the Battlestar Galactica collection. You can imagine the Viper launch station against the evil Cylons.
Colonial Viper's ready.
Spaceport open.
Look, Cylon Raiders. Launch for squadron. Missed one. Reset catapults. Viper's on target.
Viper launch station, not for use with other Battlestar Galactica vehicles. You put it together, new from Mattel.
All right, so let me just briefly talk about Night Terrors because it's still rolling on. People have asked me why I haven't done any reviews, why I stopped doing. I'd been reviewing a bunch of the Dawn of DC books. I actually was enjoying some of them. I didn't think even some of the bad ones were like there was a good issue. Like it'd be issue 1 was fine, issue 2 was not fine. It might bounce back, might not. There were good elements, or it was a good jumping in point, thing like that. And then out of the blue, DC just says, "Oh, you know what? Forget everything for a minute. We're gonna run Night of Terrors." And it was like, what? What is happening? And I don't care. It's like it started in July. It's been running, and it's just something that Joshua Willison was allowed to do. And it's like I have no idea why it wasn't done during Halloween. Why they just didn't do them as like crossover books within it. Like that would have actually made some sense to me. I think I don't know. I don't know. I would have kept reading, Green Lantern issue number 4, a Night Terrors crossover. It would have just, why would it not have just been part of it? And reality is they don't want it to be part of it. And then they just want to create an excuse for like a million other variant covers and pad their sale numbers and all that other crap. And I'm not participating. So for any of you that have asked, for those of you who might consider asking why, I'm not doing it. So unless folks are really, really going to be out there telling me how great it is or whatever, and all I hear is like negative stuff. Like I don't hear positive things. I hear like, oh, this issue's good. I like this issue. I like that issue. But when it comes to like, you know, I don't know. So anyway, that was my take on it. And then I found this story again during the hurricane. Because yes, my comic talk got interrupted by a hurricane. And now you're getting this kind of after the fact. So let me take down the little overlay real quick here. Why does winning the Night Terrors crossover feel like a loss for DC superheroes? And that's right, CBR. So this is just from 2 days ago, and talks over how it took over every title, and it's Night's End. They found a way to save the day, now without its costs, blah, blah, blah. And it's like Joshua Williamson, it's all this other stuff, right? So why was the subtly insidious part of Insomnia's plan? I don't know. I don't know. So it just first off, this art is unimpressive. Like I'm just not impressed. That's not gonna get me going. So um it was one of these things where it just didn't land. It didn't land. It just did not land. And this is just brutally awful art. That is just brutal. That's just terrible. So um I understand that they're trying to have twists, they're trying to set things up. Obviously, for for those of you who don't know, it's trying to set up Amanda Waller as being relevant. They got an Amanda Waller series coming, those kinds of things. Um, it's about PR. It's like a PR game. Like decades, people have seen superheroes as saviors, but that tide is turning. The public are slowly realizing the heroes are dangerous, a threat to our safety. Insomnia gave us a gift, 2 gifts, in fact, right? And then she, of course, has the Nightmare Stone as well as the Helmet of Hate. And I'm like, okay, yeah. That look, if CBR is turning on you, you're not interrupt any movement you had for people to read your books, and then you create a little side quest uh crossover event that no one cares about, because at the end of the day you're expecting us to go back to Shazam issue 3 or 4 and Green Lantern issue 3 or 4, and we're just supposed to pick up where we left off, I guess. Why? Like, wouldn't there be impact from this event? And if there's no impact, then why would we care about the impact? And these things are not cheap. The cover price of these books, I think, is pretty expensive. Like, these are not, you're not cheap, right? Let me double check on some of the prices. $5 going rate, $4. So $4 is the going rate on most of them. So you start to having a few issues of the main series, a few issues of some of the crossovers. So you got people who are shelled out. What, you wasted $50, $100 on what? On what? Why would not? Why would you not just go buy a series that was good, one that's already got classic legacy stamped on it, something that's already survived time and the criticism of time. It's aged well. So anyway, that's my take on it. Not interested. Not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. Can't make me. Can't make me. Listen, let's roll back the clock. Let's do some Golden Age book. Okay, so I am totally cheating on this one. Blue Beetle, 10 cents. That's right. People didn't realize that even Ted Kord is not the original Blue Beetle. The original Blue Beetle dates back to 1940. That's right. Look at that ad. Oh, yeah. Here we go. 1940. This is 1939 copyright. I thought it was 1940. Anyway, here you go. The original Blue Beetle who it looks like he's wearing like armor and a glove and a belt with a really badly drawn bug on it. And just very generic color palette from back in the day. Here's their little story. Moving along, lots of word bubbles and things like that. Not a lot of superhero action going on before you get to his name is Garrett, right? And then he's very, very talented, very athletic, all those kinds of things. So anyway, this is about the death of his father in the war. Or, well, he was injured. He didn't die yet, but he goes to visit his bedside. And then he becomes the Blue Beetle. So this is kind of how Blue Beetle got started. I thought it'd be kind of fun to kind of go back and look at some of these. So that was one there. Issue number 2. Look at the drawing of his face, like how different and strange that is. This is this guy. Look at that's crazy looking. They at least tried to have different figures and different interesting elements. So I like this. I wish they would do more of this. Like their catch up is, having these different characters explained through little portraits. That's really kind of clever. I miss that. So, and it would tell you when the next issue is going to be out, so you didn't have to wait. So that was good. I like that. So yeah, this was I like this. This is, look at the emotion that they have in these books. I don't know that I've never owned original Blue Beetle. I've never been a fan of reading Blue Beetle. I found that all this just be very generic crime fightery type stuff, basically from back in the day. That's all this is. And this is the company that was doing this is called Fox Productions. So we're gonna have Charlton take over at some point. So you can see here. Here's the logo, a Fox feature comic, 64 pages. 64 pages. Got that? Right. Look at that. Look at the color pop off there. That's a really nice scan. Go from a different little edge to it, that kind of thing. It's still very generic as far as his features go. Like there's no real, it's not like the Blue Beetle that we think of today. It's just very much just a guy running around in tights, being very athletic. It's kind of like it's almost like a cereal from back in the day. Big cereal. So let me jump ahead and see when it drops. Let's see, this is let's go 20 issues. So it's a couple of years in the future. That's not a very good scan of that cover. It's a World War II cover for sure. Look at that. See the flying tiger. This was jump ahead. This is no, that's not the copyright for the book. That's just generic copyright stuff. This is 1943, January 43. Blue Beetle here. You can see now they've given it, the armor looks a lot more like Captain America. So Blue Beetle looks a lot more like Captain America. It's going to be war propaganda. Look at the badly drawn faces. Oh, that's terrible. So here you get the Blue Beetle. Takes his shirt off. He's just got this foliage thing going on. You're like, what is happening? He's just super athletic. There's none of the tech suit or anything like that that we think about when we think about Blue Beetle. So it tends to be more just, I don't know. It's almost like they just sort of like threw things against the wall to figure out what would stick or could stick. So let's jump ahead another year and a half or so. This is issue number 33. You can see he starts to have the little comics box going on now. Definitely a very Captain America feel here. It's a cool ad. Buy a little telescope for 98 cents. Let's see. Again, just generic storytelling, generic crime fighting, superhero stuff. Because he's just there's no shrinking bug superhuman costuming type stuff like what we got later on. Okay, let's jump ahead. Well, so let's jump way ahead. Let's go to the final issue would be 60. Okay, so in this run, so wow, the color palette's gone. Very weird that this page didn't ink or scan right. That's weird. So this ran to 1950. So I had a pretty good run. Nice little decade of, they didn't come out every single month. So it was why I would say in the beginning, it would say next, look out for the next book right here, right? In the second week of August, that kind of thing. So we have these massive gaps, but they're doing 64 pages. I mean, it's crazy. And there's not a lot of ads. I mean, there are ads, but there's not a lot. You read 90s books, there's tons of ads. So anyway, there you go. Walked you back into time to get a little Blue Beetle dose. Thought you guys might enjoy that a little bit. Listen, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me for this week's Comic Talk. I know it's been kind of unorthodox. Scheduling got jacked up. Hurricane made it more crazy and jacked up. And now, who knows? I've got some folks that are sort of like waiting to confirm what we're doing and when we're doing it. So stay tuned. I appreciate talking about some comic book stuff with you guys. It's always fun. Thanks again. I am Pops. It's just been me sitting here for 40 seconds because my computer wouldn't load. Boy, isn't that like some great content for anybody that happened to notice. White Mexican Iron Man adjacent to Mexican Iron Man. Listen, if I'm going to have a nickname, Austin one, it's going to be White Salsa. White Salsa. That's it. That's my Spanish name. Mexican. I'm Mexican. White Salsa.